This week on CCTU, we're bringing communities to the forefront by putting a spotlight on the Clean Mobility Options Voucher Incentive Project.
The CML program is unique. It improves underserved communities' access to clean mobility options that are safe, reliable, convenient, and affordable by creating a streamlined application process for communities to apply for funding.
Join us every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific by registering on our website at calstart.org/CCT update.
Well, hello again and welcome back. Great to have you with us for this October 23rd edition of CCTU, the Clean Commercial Transportation Update. Thanks for making Friday your CCTU day. I'm Bill Van Amberg, along with my colleague and partner, Alicia Gildy, as always. And happy Friday to you, Alicia.
Happy CCTU day to you, Bill.
Thank
Excited
you.
for today.
Well, we made it through another week, and thank goodness for that. It takes a team to do what we do, and we've got our team hard at work. Alex Gaddis is at the controls of Zoom. Casey Okazaki is producing and monitoring chat, and Whitley Porter makes sure you know what we are up to and what our topics are. And this is what we try to do. We try to give you 30 minutes of focus time away from the noise to look at trends and tips, tools, and also some of the progress being made in clean commercial transportation. Last week, we got a chance to see a very cool electric truck design center in Michigan. This week, though, we're going to take a look where it counts maybe the most, the frontline communities who are facing the most pollution, but often with the least option when it comes to mobility. And that's really what's driving our rundown today, Alicia.
Well, Bill, that's right. And I'm really excited to bring back our leaders who are leading one of the most important programs as we look at how to provide resources in a streamlined process for our communities. And so we're going to be talking about our Clean Mobility Options Voucher Pilot Program. We have some great announcements. It's been a big week, and we're going to be bringing on board Barbara Jacobson, as well as John Jackson, to share with us an update on how the project is progressing, as well as talking about what it means in terms of helping communities, making this application process feasible and easy to participate. And at the end of the day, making sure that we're seeing the benefits of these projects really serving these communities, Bill.
Yeah, and it's so important that we're also going to be hearing from voices in the field. And we've got a great guest joining us today, Craig Flax, who's the founder and president of YOOTS, transportation organization, and the YOOTS. And it's really important to hear, why is it important that these kinds of programs operate? Who are they benefiting, and what are the gaps we need to be filling? So very exciting, and we're really looking forward to this rundown. But first, let's hear from you, our attendees, about some key topics.
That's right. And everyone, we know that we all want to do what we can to engage and outreach to our communities and get them involved in clean transportation programs and making sure at the end of the day, we're seeing, again, those benefits helping those communities. So we wanted to hear from you. What is the most effective way to engage a community with an incentive program? So our options here are leveraging local leadership, making sure that we're working with our leaders to outreach to our communities. Secondly, how about bilingual and multiculturally friendly collateral? And I would say the third option here, equitable access to technology, making sure we're technology friendly for our communities. And then last but not least, direct engagement with communities. And I think what we mean here is that one-on-one, having that exchange directly with a community member to provide them support. Of course, we could select all of these, but we want to hear from you. Which one do you think is most important?
Yeah, that whole suite of activities is so important to make sure that we're getting this information out, and we're really giving communities the chance to make their own decisions. I mean, this is really democratization, if you will, of technology and mobility.
It is. All right. Well, Alex, what are folks saying? Okay, direct engagement within communities, that one-on-one. Very good. Thank you, everyone. And I would say followed by leveraging our local leaders. And I think after that, making sure we have equitable access to technology. All right, great participation. Thank you, everyone.
Well, as always, let's kind of look at the key trends this week before we dive into our clean mobility options key topic this week. And there are some exciting things to show, but it also does show that we want to make sure this technology is available to all. But big news out of GM this week, they've announced a couple of new vehicle platforms and that they're investing in a third manufacturing site in Tennessee to be able to build electric vehicles. You can see the Cadillac Lyriq and also that big honkin' Hummer EV that they've got up there. But both of them will be using the new GM battery, the Ultium battery, that will give them very significant range of over 300 miles when they come out in 2022. So exciting in terms of manufacturing. Really big news out of one of the major financial organizations in the world, JP Morgan Chase, has said they are going to change their financing strategy and their investment strategy and align those investments with meeting the Paris climate goals. This is a big announcement from one of the biggest financial houses in the world. They're going to focus on aligning investments towards Paris in oil and gas, electric power, and automotive manufacturing. Big shift. They're going to focus on climate carbon intensity as one of their metrics for investments. ConocoPhillips, a major oil company, has also made a big pledge that they're going to take its production at least to carbon zero by 2050. Now, they are only talking about the production side. The use of their products, they're not discussing, and that still has huge climate impacts. MAN Trucks in Europe is outlining some really aggressive plans in electrification, and they're looking at multiple things: battery electric, fuel cell electric, and hydrogen combustion. So they've actually outlined a couple of ways to use hydrogen, either through a fuel cell for electric power or to use it in an engine for a more efficient engine operation. Interesting pathway. Volvo continues to expand their electric vehicle products moving out on the roads. They got additional funding, this time from the US Environmental Protection Agency, with some additional dollars from the South Coast AQMD in California, to put 70 more electric Class 8 trucks, their VNR Class 8 trucks, out on the road. So that's very exciting, and that commitment from Volvo continuing. Einride in Sweden has unveiled a really interesting new product. They call it their pod, or automated transport. It can operate in an autonomous mode, or it can be steered by a remote operator and transport goods. It has no steering wheel in it, and it has no cab, and it is electric powered. So that's an interesting development in the autonomy field. In other news in that space, Cruise got the okay to go driverless for passenger transport in San Francisco. So they are the second of these autonomous mobility companies giving passenger rides who got the go-ahead. This one in San Francisco will be operating soon. Waymo has already gotten permission to actually operate for passenger driverless pickup in the Phoenix area. So we're seeing a lot more of these, not only these mobility services, but using automated vehicles potentially as the way to make that transition. It is an interesting transition to our topic of the day, clean mobility options, and making sure that if we're going to get these kinds of options on the road, that they're going to the right places. And Alicia, that really kicks off the look we want to take at CMO.
Bill, what an excellent segue. Thank you for organizing it in this way. Yes, I couldn't be more pleased to bring on our first guest, Barbara Jacobson, who is a senior project manager with CALSTART and has been doing an incredible job with our Clean Mobility Options Voucher Pilot Program, our CMO program. And there's been a lot of great activity. This week, we started receiving applications for projects, and then we've also made some great awards for Community Transportation Needs Assessment. Barbara, great to have you. Great job. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening this week. And maybe for our viewers who are new to CMO, tell us a little bit about what it's all about, who are the eligible partners, and at the end of the day, what do we want to see?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. It's great to be here to talk a bit about our CMO program. For those of you who don't know, it is funded through cap and trade dollars from CARB, California Air Resources Board. We have $22 million for this inaugural funding cycle, which funds both community transportation needs assessment vouchers, as well as mobility project vouchers. And as Alicia mentioned, we just announced the opening window for our mobility project voucher applications, where eligible applicants, be they public agencies, nonprofits, or California-based tribes, apply for up to $1 million of funding for community-led transportation initiatives. And the key component of the mobility project voucher is the community transportation needs assessment. This is intended to be an equity-first, community-led project. And in order for that to truly be, it's really important that communities have a voice in their determining the transportation needs in their community.
Yeah, well, we're so excited this week, Barbara, that we opened the doors, and it looks like we got great response to CMO from a lot of projects coming in. But that community transportation needs assessment is kind of like the front door of getting this right and doing the planning. What's the importance of that, and what are you seeing from groups taking advantage of that?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about figuring out what people need in order to make their communities the most equitable and sustainable, both in terms of health, environment, as well as economic opportunities. So with the community transportation needs assessment, it engages people at the onset of project design, as opposed to bringing them on once the project is finalized. And it really helps to shape and get that buy-in and support needed to make sure that these projects are operationally successful down the line.
So really hearing from the community and making sure they're embedded in the project, not have it lowered down on top of them.
Exactly.
And Barbara, I really love how you guys have included an important way to provide assistance in making sure that applicants have the information, have the guidance in order to successfully participate. I would love to bring in our colleague, John Jackson, who's a project manager for CALSTART, who's supporting the technical assistance aspects of this program. John Jackson, wonderful to have you on board. Great to have you on CCTU for your first time. Tell us a little bit about the technical assistance that you've been providing with these community transportation needs assessments.
I appreciate it, Lisa, and thank you, Bill, as well. With the technical assistance, a lot of our job really relied on, answering our CMO hotline via email and via phone. We hosted a variety of webinars throughout the duration of the last year. With COVID-19 really, coming into the forefront in April, we were forced to do a lot of things online, which kind of minimized our outreach efforts, but we adjusted very well. And since we're now living in this virtual online world, we're able to kind of supplement things through that. And, a lot of our technical assistance revolved around application questions regarding eligibility, regarding project ideas. Does this project make sense? Do we qualify for these funds in any way, shape, or form? Does our community qualify? And just basic everyday questions when it comes to just making sure that they have the right materials to succeed when they submit their applications.
So John, as you're working with these groups and giving them this assistance, what are the common themes or needs that you're seeing pop up as you're starting to work with people on these planning grants?
Common themes I would definitely say is there's a lot of interest in microtransit, as particularly in the smaller communities. Typically, when you think microtransit, you think of Bird and Lime and companies like that being in major urban areas. But a lot of these rural areas really have heavy interest in these programs. So expanding those to those rural areas, these suburban areas where they're kind of overshadowed in a sense, particularly in areas like the Central Valley, which we saw a lot of applications from, and as well as the Inland Empire in Southern California as well. So needs, I would say more connection with the urban areas, which is why they want to have these types of projects, in addition to microtransit, having, electric vehicle car share. So people can have access not only to their own communities, but other communities as well that may be nearby, but they may not have had access to before, as well as adequate public transportation access prior, that they can kind of bridge that gap with those car share programs.
So it's so great that we've got 24 now different community organizations that you're going to be working with. That's super, just looking at that spread across the state.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice to see a variety, not only just from Northern California, but also from Southern California as well. It looks like we've got most of California covered, which was our goal. But this is the first year. We definitely want to see, an uptick and just a rise in geography, if not only just particularly in Southern California, but even go further, north, up close to the Oregon border as well.
That's wonderful. I just love seeing that map, seeing how many communities have received awards for community transportation needs assessment. And John and Bill and Barbara, I'm excited to bring in our guest who is a recipient of the CMO program. And we're going to be bringing in Craig Flax, who is the founder of the Youth Transportation Organization, YOOTS. Craig, so great to have you. Congratulations for being one of our program's recipients. Tell us, why was this important for you and what are you hoping to get out of this needs assessment?
Well, first, thanks, Alicia and Bill, for having me on, and John for being a really big reason for me being here today.
Been a journey.
Yeah, it has. I mean, the truth of it is a lot of our communities have a serious lack of safe, affordable, efficient, and clean options and for transportation. And so my organization has worked very closely with 4 organizations in Richmond to sort of identify that particular community as a perfect place for us to create a pilot program that we can then hopefully expand upon and take elsewhere in the region. This particular opportunity is unique, and for the most part, finding funding for clean mobility options doesn't really exist unless you have a pre-existing diesel school bus to turn in. There's just not a lot of money out there. So that's probably the number one reason. But number two, especially for a guy like me who's new to the world of nonprofits, new to the world of grant writing, the technical assistance was key to us. The fact that there were, this was both a plus and a minus, but the fact that there was no scoring on the application and it was really first come, first served. We knew if we had all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed and an internet connection that worked, we stood a pretty good chance. So, yeah.
So I think, John, one of the questions that has come up just as you're listening to Craig talk, what one of the people in the audience said, is there a need for match funds when you're doing these community assessments? And it doesn't sound like there is. We've tried to make that as easy for people as possible. Is that how you'd frame it?
Yeah, that's definitely how I would frame it. I think for right now, I don't think there necessarily is a need for match funds. I think, particularly with the CTNA, the amount of money that we offer in order to conduct these needs assessments, I think is plentiful. And because you're given such a short amount of time, really, between the CTNA and the MPV, which is a requirement for applying for the MPV, it's really just a starting point, if anything, to I think maybe even a greater conversation. These programs are meant to be pilot programs, and really just a great kickoff for something that could become bigger.
Great. Hey, Craig, we want to get into some deeper questions, but just on that application process, because there's going to be a number of people who are watching who would be interested in doing what you and other groups have done in this first round. How was the application process then for you and the relationships you had to build as you were putting this together?
So it's interesting that you asked that question, because it really, I've seen groups pull an application together within a week, because it was first come, first serve. Whereas my organization, we worked really hard with 4 other organizations to make sure that we had the process for the entire needs assessment down pretty cold. And so we went, what I feel would be going down a road that really informed us on what the entire process would be like going through the needs assessment that would prepare us for the next round. because of the way the process goes, it wasn't necessary to win the award, but I feel like it's an awful lot of heavy lifting that we've already taken off of our shoulders to prepare us to A, get the needs assessment going, and B, be ready for that next round.
Great. And Barbara or John, is this kind of a similar thing? Is there any standard way that you're seeing communities do this, or is it really different across the board?
You know, I would say everyone kind of has their own process, especially with COVID-19. A lot of the community engagement aspects have been limited to just online. But at the same time, that does limit out a certain demographic of people. So we're trying to find a way to bridge the gap between that. Everyone has their own unique way of doing it, and every county is different with regards to their guidelines for what they can do outside of the home, if there are stay-at-home orders or not. So there really is no set standard way to complete it. And I think maybe that's honestly an aspect of the program.
I think that's really important, John, because for each community, they're going to have their own needs. Circumstances are going to be different. You can't treat each community as the same as the other. And I think maybe, Craig, I would love to hear in terms of this great project opportunity, what are the transportation goals, the clean transportation goals for your community? What do you see are some of the challenges too that we need to overcome in order to really support and move forward clean mobility options within your community?
Yeah, wonderful question, and one that has different answers along this journey for sure. You know, I went into this, sort of knowing how YOOTS has operated and how we've been providing help to certain communities. But the needs assessment forced me to roll back on what it is that I think works and really engage in the community. So early on, I was like, oh, that's going to be so difficult. Now I'm really excited because, what do I know? let's go into these communities and let's really ask, everybody what it is that are the largest hurdles for them on a daily basis, and how can we help fix that? So I'm really going into this needs assessment with no true idea of what we're going to do at the end of it. I know where our strengths are, and our focus is on youth. But at the end of the day, we're going to go into this, with eyes wide open and listen to the community.
That's wonderful. And Craig, what I love about your organization is that you are supporting the future leadership of the state, of our country. Working with youth is so important. And so I really applaud you for what you're trying to do with youths. Barbara, I would love to get your thoughts on other challenges that you may be seeing in other communities that are participating in the program, and how perhaps the CMO program can help address those challenges and help move forward the goals that they're reaching for their own communities.
Sure, absolutely. As we all know, we are in 2020, which is now known as the year of coronavirus. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for ensuring that people have equitable access to various transportation modes. So understanding that the needs and demands of transit and other mobility services are highlighted at this point in time, and budgets and competing priorities are relating that this is still an important aspect of people's day-to-day lives. And it's essential that people have the support from like organizations like us and programs such as these to really position them for that post-coronavirus economic recovery effort. And overall, I'm just seeing a broad sense of anxiety and worry about how are people going to get from A to B. And this is something that this program can help people solve.
That's really such a good point. In fact, when we were talking earlier before the webcast, Craig, you had pointed out that you were realizing that, just for people to interact with your program, you were already cutting off a part of the community because only the ones who actually had access to transportation are the ones that you could reach. So you're already losing a big chunk. One of the things that would be so interesting to tease out is what can industry do? What can industry do to help you, the community, accomplish these transportation goals? Because I'm not sure industry is always as connected right down to the community level.
So I gave a little thought to this particular question, and I think having a connection to providers is obviously key. But then knowing which of those providers to trust is really well, you know, it did remind me when I won this grant, I immediately was connected to many folks looking to help me spend the potential $1 million down the road, which is wonderful because it opened up my eyes to who is out there. But it is also, you know, it begs the question, which of these partners is best for the Richmond community in particular, and what solutions are going to help us be sustainable in this pilot program. So I think connections to providers, understanding those providers' standings in the community, you know, how do their customers view them? And then, you know, if there was some form of collective networking opportunity where organizations such as mine, and I do want to mention our partners in this, which Yes, Nature to Neighborhoods, Rich City Rides, and the Watershed Project, all are working really hard. You know, we've created a collaboration. What would be terrific for industry to do is help create collaboration amongst users throughout the country and allow us a forum to share what's working, what's not working, and the whys.
Sounds like something that would be a really useful, Barbara and John, working group that we might pull together of the communities to start honestly sharing information about what works between them and across them. I love that idea, Craig. Thank you so much for that time. And Barbara and John, thank you so much for joining us, our great guests today, as we kind of walk through the huge launch of our CMO program, and then getting at least a feel for on the ground with Craig, what it takes to really start planning effectively these community engagement and to roll out these mobility programs. Thank you all to our guests today.
Thank you, you guys. You're great. And Bill, what I think is so great about CMO and learning about all these unique and individual projects, that there's an opportunity for replication. There's an opportunity for us to take a program like this and bring it to other states. And I know that other states are also looking at how they can promote clean mobility options within communities within their own state. So I'm hoping there's some really great learnings that we can be sharing. And I think a working group is an excellent suggestion. For sure.
Yeah. And to that point that you raise, we are trying not just at the state levels, which is so powerful, but also to get some federal dollars in this. So we've got a federal campaign to actually get more money into community mobility projects like this. So if you'd like more information on that, please contact us and we'll work with you.
That's right. Well, thanks again, John and Barbara. You guys were great, and great to have Craig with us today. All right, everyone, we're going to move ahead and make sure folks are aware of some great events that we have coming up, and one that even is relevant to today's topic. But first of all, I think we're all excited about this, Bill, as this was a really important hot topic for us. But on October 27th, we're going to be having a webinar on advanced clean truck implementation with a conversation with California Assembly Member Christina Garcia and with the Clean Trucking Association, Chris Shimoda. And I know Casey's putting in the link for you all to sign up for that event. And then on November 10th, we're going to be having a really great discussion and webinar on overcoming barriers to EV adoption in disadvantaged communities. And I think this is really important. And let's see what good lessons we can get out of this conversation so that we can move them forward. And then lastly, everyone, again, we just want to make sure that you don't miss out CalStart's annual meeting. We're going to have a full packed agenda of really important topics. So make sure that you sign up, and that's on November 17th and the 18th. And I know that Casey's also put that link in the chat. So looking forward to having everyone join us for these great events. Bill, over to you.
Thanks, Alicia. And yes, we would love to have people join and really talk about what we can do together to drive forward action, funding, and the right programs to really cause progress to happen. Sadly, though, as it happens this time every week, we are out of time again for CCTU. That brings us to a close. Do remember, though, that you can find every edition of our CCTUs on the website at calstart.org/CCT update. And if you want to go back and review some of the details in this one, please do that too. We'll have it posted by the end of the day. Next week, we're really excited to take a deeper look into the Front Range of Colorado. Colorado has a very innovative clean energy plan, and they're now looking at plans to try and support 30% zero emission commercial vehicles by 2030 in that state. We're going to bring on the head of the Colorado Energy Office, Will Torr, and we'll also hear some other voices from that state as it grapples with how it can drive clean action even faster there. So really look forward to you joining us for that. And to all of you who have joined us on a basis of every week or for all the weeks we've been on, we really want to call out your actions to drive change in clean transportation. This is something we do together, and together we are changing transportation and the world for good. So thank you for your actions. But for now, for Alicia Gildy and our clean commercial transportation team here at CalSTART, I'm Bill Van Amberg. Be safe, take care of each other and yourself, and stay connected. We will CCTU again right here at 11 a.m. next Friday. See you then.